In the bustling heart of Tokyo, where the vibrant art scene thrived, two struggling art students faced an unnerving lull in their careers. Akio, the photographer, and Mio, the makeup artist, had not received any gigs for a while. But one evening, as they discussed their dwindling opportunities in a cramped, dimly lit coffee shop, Akio received an intriguing email. A potential client sought his services for a private photo shoot. She offered a generous sum, enough to cover their expenses for the month. Eager for any opportunity, they agreed to meet her at an old studio in the outskirts of the city. The studio, an expansive space that had seen better days, echoed with their footsteps as they entered. Waiting in the dimly lit confines was their client, a tall figure draped in a sleek dark coat. Her face was obscured by a mask. "Thank you for coming," she greeted them. As they began setting up, Akio glanced at her curiously. "We're here to make you look your best. Whenever you're ready, you can remove the mask." She hesitated. "For now, I'd prefer to keep it on." The shoot started with the woman posing elegantly, yet always with her face hidden. Akio and Mio exchanged puzzled looks, but focused on capturing her mysterious allure. As they adjusted the lights and angles, the woman's aura of sadness and grace became increasingly palpable. Mio, unable to contain her curiosity, finally broke the silence. "May I ask why you choose to keep covered? It's quite unusual for a photo shoot." The woman paused, her eyes meeting Mio's in the mirror. She didn't respond. As the night wore on, a tension built within the room. Finally, during a brief pause, the woman turned to them, her hands trembling slightly as they reached for her mask. "You have been very kind. Perhaps it's time. Tell me, do you think I'm pretty?" The question hung heavy in the air, driven by a mixture of professionalism and genuine concern. Akio responded warmly. "Yes, of course." Mio murmured her agreement, cautious but encouraging. With a slow, almost ceremonial motion, the woman removed her mask, revealing her face. The sight was shocking. Her mouth was grotesquely slit from ear to ear. Mio gasped, stepping back instinctively, shaking her head. The woman's eyes filled with a profound sadness, then flickered with a darker emotion. Swiftly, she moved towards Mio, her demeanor shifting frighteningly. There was a flash of silver, a scream, and then silence fell like a cloak. Mio laid on the ground, clutching her face as blood gushed out of her. No makeup can fix that," the woman whispered cruelly. She then turned to Akio. "And you? Do you still find me pretty?" Akio, his mind racing with terror and pity, nodded slowly. "I think you need help. Let me help you." But with a shake of her head and a mournful smile, she stepped back into the shadows, her figure blending into the darkness of the studio. "It's too late," she murmured. In the aftermath, as emergency services filled the once quiet studio, Akio wrestled with the evening's surreal horrors. As he shared the events with the authorities, his thoughts lingered on the pain and tragedy behind the mask. One of the cops was familiar with the woman and explained. Kuchisake-Onna, which translates to Slit-Mouthed woman, is a well-known figure in Japanese folklore. According to the legend, she is a malicious spirit or ghost of a woman who was mutilated and her mouth was slit from ear to ear. She wears a mask to cover her disfigured face. Kuchisake-Onna approaches her victims and asks them a chilling question. "Am I pretty?" If the person answers no, she kills them with a pair of scissors she carries. If the answer is yes, she removes her mask to reveal her horrifying mutilation, then asks again. If the person reacts with fright or changes their answer, she kills them. If they don't, she might cut their mouths to resemble hers. After the horrific incident at the studio, Akio couldn't escape the dark allure of Kuchisake-Onna. Her presence escalated into a terror that stalked him relentlessly. He would see her reflection fleeting across windows and mirrors, her horrific smile briefly catching the light before vanishing. Each encounter left him chilled to the bone. Her whispered question, "Do you still think I'm pretty?" echoing in his ears long after she disappeared. His apartment, once a sanctuary, became a prison of paranoia. At night, he could hear the soft, dragging steps of someone pacing back and forth outside his door. Some nights the handle would turn slowly, quietly, testing whether it was locked. But Akio felt an inexplicable pull to understand her, to delve deeper into the legend that now consumed his life. He immersed himself in folklore, discovering tales of Kuchisake-Onna's origins. A woman mutilated and cast aside, her spirit twisted by betrayal and sorrow. As his empathy for her grew, so did his fear. One stormy night, as Akio developed photos in his dark room, the door creaked open and there she stood, her figure obscured by the darkness, only her slit mouth visible, grinning grotesquely. "Do you still think I'm pretty?" she asked, her voice a deathly whisper that sent shivers down his spine. Frozen with fear, Akio couldn't respond. She stepped closer, the stench of decay filling the room. "Answer me," she hissed, her face inches from his. "Yes," Akio stammered, his voice barely audible. "Yes, you are." She looked at him with cruel satisfaction, and suddenly she vanished. That night, Akio couldn't sleep. He sat awake, clutching a camera, his only defense against the unknown. The next few days, the hauntings grew more intense, each encounter more terrifying than the last. She began to appear not just in solitude, but in public places. Always watching, always waiting. Driven to the brink, Akio decided to confront her, to end this torment. He set up his camera in the very studio where they first met, the place where the veil between their worlds had thinned. As the clock struck midnight, she appeared, her presence filling the room with cold dread. "Why me?" Akio demanded, his voice echoing the empty studio. "Because you saw the real me and you didn't turn away," Kuchisake-Onna replied. Akio raised his camera, his hands trembling. "Let me capture you again." She paused, considering his offer. Slowly she nodded, and as he snapped photos, her figure began to fade, her outline blurring with each flash until she disappeared entirely. Akio left the studio that night, his heart heavy. He had captured her essence, perhaps freeing her spirit, or at least calming it. In the months following his terrifying encounters with Kuchisake-Onna, Akio poured his fear and fascination into his photography, capturing the haunting essence of the spectral figure who tormented him. He decided to host a private gallery showing, titled The Haunted Lens, inviting art critics, paranormal researchers, and enthusiasts of the supernatural. The gallery was filled with stark, chilling photographs of Kuchisake-Onna, each one more gripping than the last, showing her figure and gruesomely slit mouth. Whispers of awe and horror mingled in the dimly lit room. The atmosphere was tense. Midway through the evening, the temperature dropped sharply, and a heavy silence fell over the crowd. Kuchisake-Onna materialized before her images, her presence causing a stir of fear and fascination. Her eyes darted across the room, taking in the crowd and the photographs of herself. Seeing herself through the eyes of others, her anger ignited. A deep, unsettling scream escaped her, chilling the room further. She moved swiftly, her form almost a blur as she approached a young woman who had been admiring the grotesque beauty of the images. The crowd froze, watching in horror as Kuchisake-Onna pulled out her scissors. "Am I pretty?" she hissed, her voice a terrifying whisper that echoed through the gallery. The woman, caught in a paralyzing fear, couldn't respond. Before Kuchisake-Onna could strike, Akio intervened. He stepped between them, his heart pounding but his voice surprisingly calm. "She means yes, you are beautiful," he quickly said, addressing Kuchisake-Onna while keeping his eyes on her menacing gaze. "Everyone here understands you more than you know." Kuchisake-Onna paused, her hand still raised, her expression one of confusion and anger. Akio continued, "Your story, your pain, it deserves to be seen and not feared." Slowly, the tension in her posture lessened. Her hand lowered, and the supernatural chill began to dissipate. The room exhaled in relief as Kuchisake-Onna turned her gaze back to the photographs, then to the crowd, her eyes scanning the faces of those who now looked back at her, not just with fear, but with understanding. Kuchisake-Onna looked at Akio, a nod of acknowledgement, perhaps even gratitude, before she faded away, her form dissolving into the air like mist. The aftermath of that night was profound. Akio's exhibit was talked about for weeks, for being a sensational display of supernatural art, and as an encounter that bridged the gap between the living and the dead. His career took off spectacularly, with galleries eager to host his work. Akio continued his work, forever changed by the ghostly muse who had both haunted his dreams and made them come true.